All right, so we've been talking about scale, and so I'm going to give we're going to now go back to COVID-19 a little bit and put that in our scale and hierarchy frame. Pay attention because, as I've said all along, there will be no quizzes, but I'm going to ask you questions on the discussion thing. So, all right, so a little bit of history. We talked in the previous video, pointed out that COVID-19, the 19 refers to the initiation or the initial outbreak, which was probably in mid-December in Wuhan, China, a subsection of China. So we have two things. We have a place, and for right now I'm just going to call it Wuhan, and we have a thing, which is a COVID outbreak. Now we've got a simple model of COVID, and I'm going to sketch it quickly once, and then we're going to abbreviate it. Cases, we've been using cases, and I'm not going to even label everything. We've said there's a thing like that. We'll get in. There's a lot more here, but for going forward, I'm going to call this COVID-19. And I'm trying to use a different shape to not confuse about stocks, because cases we can count, and I'm going to use this symbol for the whole 9 yards, that most of which isn't even presented here. So that happened in a place. Wuhan. So following that, it turns out that, we had the ship in Japan. The next sort of major cluster of COVID-19 was a nursing home in Washington State. Washington State. And that starts, so let's say approximately December 19, approximately January 19. It starts to pop up other places. The next very exciting, in the worst possible way, was Italy. So we've got Italy. And then my silly thing that I wish I had a better one, but and really it started in northern Italy. Do you remember? I know this because my family has connections to southern Switzerland, which is right here. And there's a border. There's lots of borders there. Excuse me. And of course now we've got, let's just say in the sense here, let's say New York. That's where my kid lives. They're holed up. They got their they've got their stuff. They've got their monitor. They're crashing ebooks and working away. So then we have another bit of COVID-19. Of course, New York is a part of USA, where there is also COVID-19. So Wuhan, I actually don't know how big spatially Wuhan is. Francie tells me there's 11 million people. Washington State, considerably fewer people there. I don't know the number, but let's just say, so 11 million. Let's start getting getting our units right here. 11 million is 11 times 10 to the 6. So we'll just call it 10, which is 10 times 10 to the 6. So we'll just call it 10 to the 7. 10 to the 7, not cases, population. Now I'm going to go do population here because it's easier, because I don't know the numbers for the other ones. Washington State, I don't know. Seattle maybe has 1 million. Oh, dear me. We'll call it 10 to the 6. It's probably 10 to the 5. Something like that. Italy, 16 million. 10 to the 7. New York City, 7 million. 10 to the 6. United States, United States is 300 million. So that's 3 times 10 to the 2 times 10 to the 6 is 3 times 10 to the 8. All right, so in terms of scale, in terms of the number of people involved, Italy and these two are about the same. USA is bigger by a lot. New York City is more like Washington State in terms of the number of people. Social distance, remember, I don't know if New York is one of the most densely populated places in the U.S. It's outdone by places like Hong Kong and probably Beijing, but I don't know, London, maybe not. Cities in Europe, maybe some cities in Italy. Anyway, so let's think about where is their hierarchy. The way I've drawn it, this is the only one where there's hierarchy. We have a country and we have a city, not drawn to scale. Here we have Italy attached to Switzerland, probably the same levels. Wuhan is embedded in China, which I didn't draw. Washington State is part of this at a different scale. I said 10 to the 6, 10 to the 5, 10 to the 8 over there. So the reason I've broken it out like this is that we can look at the statistics of these pieces independently. China is already seeing it. Well, already it's been months, obviously, but China is beginning to see, or is seeing, a strong tail off of the disease. I haven't been following Washington State, so I don't know what's going on there. Italy is also starting to see things roll over a bit. I could put Wisconsin here. Where would we put Wisconsin? We'd put Wisconsin in here. My father-in-law is tracking Wisconsin. He thinks maybe there's a rollover there, but the statistics are so messed up with respect to testing that it's really hard to tell. But pretty clear that Italy is probably through, I hate to say it, but probably through the worst of it. New York City's just beginning. The U.S. is just beginning. There's no question about that. And like I said, I don't know about Washington State, but I would expect, since it started earlier, they may be getting things under control. And of course, the question is boundaries. I've stuck Switzerland in here a little bit. And is this COVID-19 the same as right over here in Switzerland? Der Schweiz? Yes. Actually, for reasons I don't understand, but probably having to do, the little international thing is CH for Switzerland. Probably not. healthcare and these are two very different places, even though a lot of the southern Switzerland is very different than, say, around Zurich. So I'm going to stop here. This is kind of how we can begin to think about, and we're going to talk about in the Imperial College how each of these little bits, while structurally they might be the same, how they might also be different. All right.